I learned early that a house can stand tall and still feel empty. Ours looked perfect from the street. White paint, trimmed hedges, smiling parents at the door. Inside, it felt like a quiet jail. I grew up listening instead of speaking, watching instead of asking. I learned the sound of my father's steps and what each one meant. "Stand straight," my father, Richard Hale, said one night at dinner. "Don't slouch like that." "I am standing straight," I said. He put his fork down slowly. "Don't argue with me." My mother, Margaret Hale, didn't look up. She cut her food into neat pieces. "Just do what he says," she added, her voice calm and cold. "You always make things harder than they need to be." I wanted to ask how standing could be wrong, but I swallowed the words. Silence was safer. Silence meant less damage. I didn't feel like a son in that house. I felt like a problem they were trying to manage. Every move I made felt watched. Every breath felt judged. Love wasn't something we shared. It was something they talked about in public. "You're lucky," my mother told me once, fixing my collar before a school event. "Other kids would kill to have parents like us." I nodded because that was expected. Inside, I felt small. I wondered what those other kids had that I didn't. My sister Emily sat across from me, smiling softly. She always smiled. She always knew what to say. "Mom, the flowers look nice," she said. Margaret's face softened. "Thank you, sweetheart." I watched that softness like it was a magic trick. When Emily spoke, warmth appeared. When I spoke, the air tightened. "Can I be excused?" I asked. Richard looked at me. "Did you finish your food?" "Yes." "Did you thank your mother?" I paused. "Thank you." He nodded once. "Then go." Upstairs, my room felt smaller than it should have. I sat on my bed and listened to their voices float up through the floor. "Emily did great today," my mother said. "She always does," my father replied. "She understands discipline." I pressed my hands together. I wondered what I didn't understand. I wondered what was broken in me. Sometimes I tried to talk. I really did. "I don't think you listened to me," I said once, standing in the kitchen. Richard didn't even turn around. "We listen when you say something worth hearing." Margaret sighed. "You're too sensitive. That's your problem." I learned to keep my feelings locked inside. Crying wasn't allowed. Anger was disrespect. Fear was weakness. The rules changed depending on their mood, and I never knew which version of them I'd get. At school, teachers praised my parents. "You're lucky," they said. "Your father is a great man." I smiled because that was easier than explaining. Explaining took energy I didn't have. Emily thrived. She followed every rule. She earned every smile. I didn't hate her. Not then. I just felt invisible next to her light. One night, I heard my parents talking behind a closed door. "He needs to toughen up," Richard said. "I know," Margaret answered. "He's embarrassing sometimes." I stood in the hallway, frozen. I wanted to walk in. I wanted to scream. Instead, I went back to my room and shut the door quietly. That was how life worked in that house. Quiet hurt less. Quiet left fewer marks. I stared at the ceiling and asked myself questions I never said out loud. Why didn't they love me? What did I do wrong? How could a place feel so cold when it was full of people? Downstairs, laughter rose. Emily's laugh. My parents joining in. It sounded warm. It sounded like a family. I lay there, staring into the dark, feeling like a guest in my own life, already learning how to disappear. I knew something was wrong before my father called my name. His voice was calm, too calm, like he had already decided everything that mattered. "Come sit," Richard said, tapping the chair across from him. My mother sat beside him, hands folded, eyes steady. Emily stood near the window, arms crossed, not looking at me. "What is this about?" I asked. "Sit," my mother, Margaret said. "Don't make this harder." I sat. The room felt smaller, like the walls were listening. Richard cleared his throat. "There's been an issue at school." Emily finally spoke. "It was a misunderstanding." I looked at her. "What happened?" Margaret answered for her. "People talk. Rumors spread. We have to be careful." "Careful about what?" I asked. "Our reputation," Richard said. "And Emily's future." My chest tightened. What does that have to do with me? Silence stretched. My mother broke it. "They want someone to blame." I laughed once, sharp and confused. "For what?" Emily's voice shook. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stood up. "What did you do?" Richard raised his hand. "Enough. Sit down." "No," I said. "Tell me." Margaret looked at me like I was a stranger. "You're older. You can handle this." Handle what? I asked. We're going to say it was you, Richard said. The words landed slowly. Say what was me? That you pressured her, Margaret said. That you crossed a line. I felt the room spin. That's a lie. We know, she said. But it's necessary. I looked at Emily. Tell them. She didn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry. My voice came out broken. You're lying. Richard leaned forward. Lower your voice. You want me to take the fall, I said. You want me to ruin my life. Your life isn't ruined, Margaret said. You'll recover. Emily whispered. I can't lose my scholarship. I turned to my parents. You're choosing her. Richard didn't hesitate. We're protecting the family. What about me? I asked. Margaret sighed. You're strong. You always survive. A knock hit the door. My heart jumped. That'll be Daniel, Emily said softly. I looked up as my best friend walked in, eyes darting. I saw the lights, Daniel said. What's going on? Nothing, Richard said. A private matter. Daniel looked at me. You okay? No, I said. They're blaming me for something I didn't do. Daniel frowned. That's insane. Margaret's tone sharpened. You should go. Daniel shook his head. This isn't right. Richard stood. Leave. Daniel looked at me. You don't have to accept this. I laughed hollow. I don't get a choice. You do, he said. Tell the truth. I looked at my parents. If I don't, Richard's voice was steady. We'll make sure no one listens to you. Margaret added, think about your future. I felt something break inside me. There is no future for me here. Emily finally cried. I never wanted this. I whispered, you still let it happen. She said nothing. Daniel stepped closer. I'll tell them what I know. Richard pointed at the door. Get out. Daniel hesitated. I'm sorry. When the door closed, the house felt empty again. Margaret spoke gently. We raised you. We did our best. You destroyed me, I said. Richard's eyes were cold. You were a mistake. I nodded slowly. Now I understand. I asked, did you ever love me? Margaret looked away. Love isn't enough. That's your answer? I said. Richard said, this conversation is over. I shook my head. It's just starting for me. He stepped closer. If you walk out that door angry, you'll regret it. I already do, I said. Every day I stayed. Emily whispered my name. I didn't turn. Don't. She cried harder. I didn't think they'd do this. You knew, I said. You just didn't care. That's not true, she said. Then speak, I told her. Right now. She was quiet. That silence said everything. Margaret pressed her lips together. You're being dramatic. I laughed again. You taught me that word. Richard crossed his arms. We gave you a roof. And took everything else, I said. He leaned in. You owe us. I owe you nothing, I said. You decided my worth tonight. Emily said, please don't hate me. I answered, I don't hate you. I hate what they made us. Richard snapped. Enough emotion. I felt clear, like fog lifting. You chose her. You chose yourselves. Margaret said softly, we had to. No, I said. You wanted to. Richard opened the door. Go cool off. I stepped past him. I won't come back. He said, you always say that. I stopped at the threshold. This time I mean it. Outside, the air felt sharp. Daniel's words echoed in my head, but so did my father's voice. Mistake. The word fit too well. I turned once more and said, you didn't lose a son tonight. You proved you never had one. The door closed. I stood alone, finally seeing the truth clearly. I walked down the street slowly, counting steps, breathing through the pain. I said to myself, you survived them. The house stayed silent behind me. For the first time, that silence felt honest. I wasn't loved there. I was managed, controlled, erased. I kept walking, feeling something heavy settle into my chest. It wasn't grief anymore. It was clarity. I had been waiting for proof. Tonight, they gave it to me. I understood then that blood meant nothing, obedience meant everything, and my childhood had ended the moment they chose pride over truth, silence over love, and her over me forever. I walked until my legs burned and the streetlights blurred. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stop. Every step felt like tearing something loose inside me, but stopping felt worse. I kept hearing my father's voice, calm and sharp, and my mother's silence, heavier than shouting. Don't look back, I told myself. I didn't have a bag. I didn't have money. I had my phone, half charged, and anger that wouldn't shut up. The first night, I slept in my car. The seat wouldn't recline all the way, and my neck ached. I stared at the roof and whispered, "This is real." Saying it out loud made it hurt more. I laughed quietly, because crying felt useless. By morning, my phone was dead. I drove until the gas light came on, then parked near a train station. I washed my face in a bathroom sink and looked at myself. "You look fine," I said. "You always look fine." That was the problem. No one ever saw the damage. At the station, a man bumped into me. "Watch it," he snapped. "Sorry," I said automatically, then hated myself for it. I spent the day drifting. I sat on benches. I counted coins. I ignored hunger until it made me dizzy. That night, I found a cheap motel. The clerk barely looked at me. "One night," he said. "That's all I need," I replied. The room smelled like old carpet and bad decisions. I lay on the bed and stared at the wall. My thoughts got loud. "They didn't even hesitate," I said to the ceiling. "Not once." I punched the mattress. My hand hurt, but it felt better than doing nothing. The next day, I ran out of money. I walked until my shoes felt thin. That's when I saw the diner. Yellow lights. Open sign. Warmth spilling onto the sidewalk. I went in and sat at the counter. A woman poured coffee without asking. "You look like you need it," she said. "Thanks," I muttered. "I'm Claire," she said. "You passing through?" "I don't know," I said. "Maybe." She nodded like that made sense. "You hungry?" "I can't pay much." She shrugged. "We'll figure it out." I ate slowly, like the food might disappear if I rushed. Claire leaned against the counter. "Rough night." "Rough life," I said. She didn't laugh. "Want to talk about it?" "No," I said, then paused. "Yes." "I don't know." She poured more coffee. "Start anywhere." "My parents chose my sister over me," I said. "They erased me." Claire listened. She didn't interrupt. That felt strange. "They told me I was a mistake," I added. "That's a cruel thing to say," she replied. "They meant it," I said. "They always do." She wiped the counter. "People can be awful." "I hate them," I said. "I believe you," she answered. That simple sentence hit harder than anything. I looked down. "I don't want to hate anyone." "Then don't let it own you," she said. I laughed bitterly. "Easy for you to say." She met my eyes. "I didn't say it was easy." I came back the next night. Then the next. I didn't ask why she listened. She didn't ask why I stayed. "You sleep okay?" she asked once. "In pieces," I said. "Me too," she replied. One night, I slammed my fist on the counter. "I want them to hurt." Claire didn't flinch. "I know. I want them to regret it," I said. She leaned closer. "Rage will eat you alive if you let it." "So what am I supposed to do?" I asked. She thought for a moment. "Decide what kind of man you want to be." "I don't know who that is," I said. "That's okay," she replied. "You'll figure it out." I slept in my car again, but it felt different. My thoughts were still loud, but clearer. "They don't get to define me," I said out loud. The next morning, I stood in front of the diner before it opened. Claire unlocked the door. "You're early." "I'm leaving town," I said. She nodded. "I figured." "Thank you," I told her. "For listening." "That's what people do," she said. "At least they should." I took a deep breath. "I'm done begging. I'm done explaining." She smiled slightly. "Good." I stepped outside and felt something settle inside me. Not peace. Not yet. But purpose. I said it quietly, like a promise. I'll build something they can't touch. Then I walked away, carrying nothing but rage, and for the first time, using it instead of letting it use me. I stopped thinking in days and started thinking in hours. Work, sleep, repeat. That was my life. No room for memories. No space for anger to wander. I took whatever jobs I could get and treated each one like a test I had to pass alone. "You're late," a supervisor snapped one morning. "I won't be again," I said. "Everyone says that." "I don't," I replied. I scrubbed floors, carried boxes, fixed things I didn't understand yet. I failed often. I got fired twice. Each time hurt, but it didn't break me. I told myself, pain means you're learning. One night, after another 12-hour shift, I sat in a bar nursing cheap water. I wasn't there to drink. I was there to disappear. That's when Victor Lane sat next to me. "You look angry," he said. "I'm tired," I answered. "Same thing," he replied. I didn't look at him. I didn't ask for company. He laughed quietly. "Good. That means you might listen." I finally turned. He was older, sharp eyes, calm voice. "What do you want?" "To see if you're worth talking to," he said. I scoffed. I'm not looking for a savior. Neither am I, he said. I'm looking for someone who can shut up and learn. That annoyed me. You don't know me. He nodded. Exactly. We talked. Mostly he talked. He asked questions and waited. Silence stretched until I filled it. I hated that. He noticed. You rush your words, Victor said. That's weakness. I clenched my jaw. I survived worse than this. I don't care, he said. Survival isn't success. Then what is? I asked. Control, he answered. I met him again the next day. Then the next. He never asked about my family. I never offered. You think hard work is enough, Victor said one night. It isn't. So what is? I asked. Discipline, he said. And patience. I don't have patience, I admitted. He smiled slightly. That's obvious. He gave me tasks that made no sense. Read this. Watch that. Say nothing in meetings. I argued once. This is pointless, I said. He leaned back. You talk too much. I shut up. Weeks passed. I learned to listen. I learned when silence scared people more than words. I learned how power moved quietly, not loudly. You're still angry, Victor said one day. I don't show it, I replied. That's improvement, he said. But don't let it drive. What should drive me? I asked. Goals, he said. Not revenge. Not fear. I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I believed him. I failed again. I made a bad call. Lost money. I expected him to yell. You rushed, Victor said calmly. I wanted results, I replied. And you got consequences, he said. Sit with that. I did. It burned. Slowly, something shifted. I stopped reacting. I started planning. I didn't feel happier. I felt steadier. One night, I caught my reflection in a window. I looked different. Not stronger. Sharper. You're changing, Victor said. I don't feel it, I answered. Good, he replied. Real change is quiet. I never told him about my parents. I didn't need to. He taught me without caring why I needed the lessons. You don't chase, he said once. You position. I repeated it in my head like a rule. Months later, I realized I hadn't begged anyone in a long time. That mattered. What do you want? Victor asked me. I thought carefully. Control over my life. He nodded. Then you're on the right path. I walked home alone that night, calm and focused. I wasn't free yet. I wasn't healed. But I wasn't lost anymore. For the first time, I didn't feel like a mistake. I felt dangerous in a quiet way. And I knew, without saying it out loud, that I was becoming the man they never wanted me to be. I came back to town without announcing myself. No calls. No warnings. I didn't want recognition. I wanted perspective. The streets looked smaller than I remembered, like they had shrunk while I was gone. Or maybe I had grown. I stood across the road from my parents' house and said quietly, "This place doesn't own me anymore." Inside a cafe nearby, I met Thomas Reed. I didn't plan to. He sat across from me after I asked for the Wi-Fi password. "You're not from around here," he said. "I used to be," I replied. He smiled. "I'm a reporter. I notice things." "That explains the stare," I said. He laughed. "Occupational habit. I'm Thomas." I gave my first name only. "I'm just visiting." "Strange time to visit," he said. "Town's buzzing." "About what?" I asked. He leaned in. "Power people falling apart." I sipped my coffee. "Like who?" "The Hales," he said casually. My hand paused. "What about them?" "Nothing proven," Thomas said. "Yet. But pressure changes people." I nodded. "It usually does." Later that day, I saw my parents from a distance at a charity event. Richard stood stiff, smile forced. Margaret scanned the room like she was counting threats. They looked older. Smaller. Fear had carved lines stress never hid. "Relax," Richard said sharply to her. "I am relaxed," Margaret replied, eyes darting. That was new. They used to be calm. Untouchable. Emily spoke with donors nearby, confident and polished. She looked successful, admired. But when she glanced at her parents, her smile flickered. I recognized that look. It was the same cage, just decorated differently. That night, I met Thomas again. "They're nervous," he said. "Why do you think that is?" "Maybe they're tired," I replied. He shook his head. "No. Something's coming." "Careful," I said. "Assumptions ruin stories." "True," he agreed. "But patterns don't lie." I didn't push. I didn't need to. The systems were already moving. A week later, a deal Richard had bragged about for years collapsed. I heard it through town gossip. Bad luck, someone said. Bad timing, someone else replied. Margaret stopped attending events. Richard snapped at people in public. Their reputation started cracking, just enough to let light in. Thomas called me. Funny thing, he said. Old records resurfaced. Funny how? I asked. Funny like they were buried on purpose. I said nothing. Emily approached me one afternoon outside a bookstore. She froze when she saw me. It's you, she whispered. Yes, I said. You're back, she said. For now. She swallowed. They're scared. I know, I replied. She lowered her voice. Did you do this? No, I said honestly. I stepped aside. She studied my face. You're different. I had to be, I said. They're blaming everyone, she said. Each other. Me. I sighed. That's what happens when control slips. You could stop this, she said. I looked at her. Could I? She didn't answer. Thomas published a piece days later. It wasn't an attack. It was careful. Questions. Timelines. Gaps. Richard called a press meeting to deny everything. His voice shook. We've always acted with integrity, he said. Margaret stood beside him, jaw tight. I watched from my hotel room and felt nothing but distance. Thomas messaged me. They're unraveling. They always were, I replied. I passed my parents on the street one evening. Richard didn't recognize me at first. Then he did. You, he said quietly. Hello, I replied. Margaret's eyes widened. Why are you here? I never left, I said. Not really. Richard's voice dropped. Is this your doing? I smiled faintly. No. This is yours. Emily stood behind them, silent. Margaret whispered, You want revenge? I shook my head. I wanted peace. Richard laughed bitterly. This is peace. For me, I said. I walked away before they could answer. I didn't need their fear to feel powerful. Watching consequences unfold was enough. That night, I stood alone and said, Karma doesn't shout. It whispers. And they were finally hearing it. I didn't knock. I never knocked in that house anymore. I stepped inside, and they were already waiting. Richard stood near the table, hands clasped too tightly. Margaret sat stiff on the couch. Emily hovered near the doorway, eyes red, breath uneven. You came, Richard said. I said I would, I replied. Margaret looked at me like she was searching for the son she misplaced years ago. We didn't think you'd actually show. I didn't think you'd ask, I said. Emily whispered my name. Please. I looked at her. This isn't about please. Richard cleared his throat. We need to talk. I nodded. You finally understand that. Margaret spoke quickly. Things have gotten out of control. They usually do, I said, when lies run out. Richard stiffened. We did what we had to do. For yourselves, I replied. For the family, he corrected. I tilted my head. You never included me in that word. Margaret leaned forward. That's not true. Say it again, I said. Slowly. She hesitated. We loved you. Emily broke down then. Stop lying. Margaret flinched. Emily, not now. No, Emily cried. Now is exactly when. Richard snapped. Enough. I raised a hand. Don't. He froze. That was new. Emily looked at me through tears. I didn't see it before. What they turned us into. You benefited, I said gently. I know, she sobbed. And I hate myself for it. Margaret shook her head. We protected you. Emily shouted. You used me. Silence fell. Heavy. Honest. Richard spoke again, slower now. You don't understand the pressure we were under. I smiled faintly. You never asked if I did. Margaret said, we sacrificed. I laughed softly. You offered me up. Richard's voice cracked. We thought you'd recover. I did, I said. Just not how you wanted. Emily stepped toward me. They're scared. I can see that, I replied. Margaret whispered. You've made your point. No, I said. You finally heard it. Richard swallowed. What do you want? I thought about that. I wanted you to see me. Margaret reached out. We see you now. I stepped back. Too late. Emily cried harder. Please don't destroy them. I met her eyes. I already stopped. Richard looked confused. Stopped what? Chasing, I said. You're falling on your own. Margaret's voice trembled. You enjoyed this. No, I said. I survived it. Richard clenched his fists. Say it. You planned this. I shook my head. You built it. Emily sank into a chair. I feel empty. So did I said. For years. Margaret whispered. We did our best. That's the lie you tell yourselves, I replied. Richard's shoulders sagged. What happens now? That depends, I said. On whether I walk away. Margaret looked up sharply. You would leave us like this? I nodded. Like you left me. Emily looked between us. Is there no forgiveness? I paused. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. Richard said quietly, we need you. I answered, you never did. Margaret stood suddenly. We're your parents. And you were my first betrayal, I said calmly. Richard stepped forward. If you destroy us completely. I won't, I said. I don't need to. Emily looked at me, searching. Then why are you here? I breathed in slowly. To choose. Margaret whispered. Choose what? Whether I become what you feared, I said, or something better. Richard's voice broke. We're sorry. I studied his face. That apology came after fear. Emily covered her face. This is my fault too. I shook my head. You were shaped, not evil. Margaret said softly, say something human to us. I considered it. I wish you had loved me. The room cracked open with that. Richard closed his eyes. Margaret cried quietly. Emily reached for me and stopped herself. I took a step back. This ends tonight. Richard asked, how? I walk away, I said. And you live with it. Margaret whispered, please stay. I turned toward the door. I already stayed too long. Emily called my name again. I paused, not turning. Be free, I told her. Don't become them. Then I left, feeling the power settle where pain used to live, knowing the choice I made was mine alone. I left town before sunrise. No music. No rush. Just the sound of the road and my breathing. I didn't feel empty. I didn't feel proud. I felt quiet in a way I had never known before. You done? I asked myself. The answer came without force. Yes. I stopped at a gas station outside town. The clerk looked at me and said, long night. Long life, I replied. He nodded like that made sense. I sat in the car and thought about everything I lost and everything I gained. Revenge didn't taste sweet. It tasted clean, like cutting away rot. It didn't make me happy. It made me steady. They're finished, I said out loud. The words didn't excite me. They didn't hurt either. I thought about my parents' house, now quiet and watched by strangers. Their name whispered with suspicion. Their pride cracked beyond repair. I didn't feel joy. I felt distance. You wanted this, I reminded myself. What I wanted was never destruction. It was release. I drove until the sky lightened, then pulled over near the diner. The same one. Claire was outside, smoking, eyes tired. You're leaving, she said. Yes. She flicked ash away. Did it help? I don't know yet, I answered. She studied me. You look lighter. I am, I said. Just not happy. She smiled softly. Happy is overrated. I laughed once. You always say the right thing. No, she replied. I say the honest thing. I leaned against the car. I didn't forgive them. You don't have to, she said. I didn't stay angry either. That's harder, she said. It took everything, I admitted. She put out the cigarette. What now? I go somewhere new, I said. Not to hide. To live. She nodded. That sounds right. I hesitated. Thank you. For what? She asked. For reminding me I wasn't broken, I said. She shrugged. You did that yourself. I got in the car. She stepped back. Don't disappear. I won't, I promised. As I drove away, I thought about the boy I was. Quiet. Afraid. Waiting for approval that never came. You survived, I told him. I didn't need revenge to prove my worth. I needed choice. And I finally had it. The road stretched open. No past chasing me. No future demanding anything. Just space. I said it slowly, so it would stick. I choose myself. The town faded behind me. Their power gone. Their name hollow. Their control finished. I didn't win. I was finally free.